Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. This is the Collaborators Unite podcast. Chuck Anderson here. I am your host, and this is the show where we serve big impact experts. And that's you if you are someone who resonates with not only wanting to make money in your business, but you want to make a big positive impact in the lives of others and possibly even your community and the world. And so many of the people that we work with are on a mission to make a difference. And so along that path of making a big impact and making a difference, you're going to want to package your expertise and you want to find ways to market yourself. And today's guest is someone who's been doing this and, in a parallel path. I can't believe we've never met before, but she helps people with their visibility and is known for 5-day challenges and being the creator of that. And if you've ever been to a 5-day challenge, you are in for a treat because you are going to meet the person who kind of started us all off on that trend of using 5-day challenges in our businesses. And so I have Alina Vincent here with me today. Alina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and sort of fanned out there for a moment, but that's okay. I'm all good and calm now. So go ahead and share everybody. I think a great place to start is your story. And how did it come to be that, you're doing what you're doing now and you're, again, known for challenges, among other things, and then what you're doing today, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So I kind of had an interesting start in business because I never thought I would ever have a business in my life. I kind of grew up in a family of professors. So our track in life was you go to school, you go to grad school, you basically stay at the university and teach. And that's what I saw all around me, my parents, my grandparents. So growing up, I never once thought I would have a business. And then one thing led to another. So I followed that path, spent about 16 years at the university. And a really cool thing happened. I got to work for about 6 years there as an instructional designer. So creating courses, helping people share that intellectual property they had, like sharing their expertise and knowledge has always been in my blood. And then at one point, I realized that I didn't like having a boss. And I really didn't like having somebody to tell me what I was allowed to do and having to ask permission and also having a ceiling on how much I could make. So on a brave day and a very brave day, I decided to quit my job and start my own business. And back in the day, the advice was, if you have a hobby, just turn it into a business. How hard can it be? And what I decided to do was start a photography studio because I've always been passionate about photography since I was 12 years old. So I started that. I ran it for a few years, got it to 6-figure business. Obviously, was a lot of crying, was a lot of pain because I didn't know anything about selling, anything about marketing, but I was pretty good at what I was doing. And I started learning a lot about how do you get yourself visible? How do you attract clients? How do you show up on social media and basically get those leads and clients? And as I was working there, I realized that it was very unscalable business because everything in that business depended on me. So I had to show up. I had to make the sales. I had to take the pictures. I had to retouch. So my business just couldn't grow anymore. And eventually I basically started feeling that I created another job for myself. So I started looking for how can I make bigger impact and work with more people. And I realized I needed to start creating stuff where I was working with multiple people at the same time. So back in the day, at that time, my coach said, you know what? You are already working primarily with business owners. So my business kind of started specializing in marketing and headshot photography. So majority of my clients were entrepreneurs. And so my coach said, do you realize that you're basically being a closet coach? Because people come to you and you ask them, who's your audience and who you're trying to attract and how are you marketing? And then you're charging them for just a headshot. But they're coming to you and they're getting a lot of business advice. So he said, you should basically become a business coach or a business strategist. And I said, okay, let me try that. So I quit my photography studio, so closed everything, said no to all of the clients, and started to build my business as a business coach. And I went through probably the worst time in my whole entire entrepreneurial career because I was basically going to people and saying, hey, hire me. I'm a really good coach. I have lots of things to share with you. I can take you to the next level. And it was so generic and it was so vague. Like nobody knows what it means, go to the next level, right? So about 3 or 4 months, I really struggled with attracting any clients. Nobody would say yes to working with me. So I wasn't bringing a penny. And I got to a point where I thought I should just quit all of this. I wasn't built for this. I should quit and go back and get a job. And thank God I had a big awakening moment where I said, okay, so if me trying to be a coach and selling coaching packages is not working, is there anything that people are actually asking me for? And I realized as I was building my photography business, a lot of people were asking me, how did I get so visible on Facebook? How am I getting leads? What am I posting? How much I'm posting? And I said, let me create something that's very tangible, very practical, and very, very specific. And that's how my very first challenge was born. So I created, back in the day, was 21-day challenge. And I went to the same people I've been talking about hiring me as a coach. And I said, what if I taught you something practical? In these 21 days, I will share with you exactly how I post, where I post, what to say, how to say it in order to get clients. And within 2 weeks, I had over 50 people sign up for the challenge. So it was basically the very first money I've made in this current business that I have. So it started with a 21-day challenge. Then we created programs. We created more challenges. We've developed our signature formula for 5-day challenges. And that's what we do right now. And that business got me from zero, or basically from under zero, because we were going through our savings, to over $1 million in just the first 4 years. So that's kind of where we started. And we've been doing challenges since 2014. I think that's when we did our very first challenge.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I think that's about the time I came across some of those challenges that you were doing. And I appreciate hearing the origin story because I don't think I've heard it before. And I love how organically this all happened. And it wasn't something that you sat down and brainstormed and said, I wonder what I could sell to the people in the coaching industry to help them. It came from your own necessity. And then people asking you for that. It reminds me of how I got started in teaching people about affiliate marketing. It's like I was earning commissions by promoting other people's stuff. And people were saying, how are you doing that? And, and so it reminds me of that. And I love how organically that's all happened. And that your first one was 21 days. I know you're kind of known for 5-day challenges, or at least that's the model that most people I think are following today. But the first one was 21 days. And
yes. And I've tried 7-day challenges, 30-day challenges, 10-day challenges. So we've experimented with that a lot. But yeah, right now our golden standard and what we've been teaching for close to 10 years now has been that 5-day challenge model for sure.
Well, I think a couple of things. Let's talk a little bit, just a high-level overview of what a 5-day challenge is, just so in case our listeners haven't, maybe they've been living under a rock and they haven't really seen anybody doing a 5-day challenge. Let's talk about that. And then we'll kind of get into like, if you're going to use one, if you're going to use the model to market yourself and to become visible with the work that you do, let's unpack that a little bit. But first of all, let's define what is a 5-day challenge.
Sure. So a challenge is, in general, like I didn't invent the concept of challenges. It's existed since the caveman days, right? There's probably some caveman that says, hey, I challenge you to get to that rock faster than me, whatever it is. So challenge is basically a quest. It's a call to take action or to take part in a competition, right? When you are stepping out of your comfort zone, when you're trying something that you've been thinking about, but they're not doing it. So the challenge by themselves is very addictive because a lot of us, we want to challenge ourselves to be bigger, to be more visible, to try something, add a new skill to your set of skills. So challenges themselves, we like when somebody says, hey, I dare you do this, or let's try to do this. But in terms of how we use challenges for business, it's basically a mini training. So in our case, it's 5 days where every single day you're giving people an assignment and a challenge. So you're telling them, here's what you need to do. Here's how you do it. And now go do it. And overall, so we all start on the same day. We end 5 days later. And it's a community of people working towards a common goal with the instructions and directions every single day. So basically, when you are signing up for a challenge, you know what is the goal you want to accomplish. For example, find 2 affiliate partners, or create an outline for your book, or feel more comfortable with public speaking. So whatever the goal, the promise of the challenge is. And every day, the person who is running the challenge will give you a little video. Our format, we do pre-recorded videos. They're 10 minutes long. They're not like, let's get online and talk for 2 or 3 hours. I can't stand those type of challenges. So ours is micro bites. So you have these micro lessons, 10 minutes to tell you, here's what the thing is, here's why it's important, here's how to do it. And there's an assignment, the challenge of the day, where you're telling people, okay, now you go and do it. So every single day, a person experiences a win. And by the end of 5 days, you should feel and see that you've accomplished the goal that you've set out to do. And in our formulas, it's all of our challenges are free. So it's basically a free 5-day taster. So somebody could come from, I've never heard of you before, and 5 days later, get them to a point where saying, I've done more in the last 5 days than I have done in the last 6 months in this area, and where have you been all my life, and what's next. So you want to create, so every single challenge has to address 2 different goals. The first one is you have to deliver on your promise. So if you said at the end of this week, at the end of the 5 days, you're gonna create your dating profile, people better walk away with the dating profile. And the second thing is to create the desire for what's happening next, because we're not just randomly putting 5 training days together. We want to create it so we solve a problem and tell people, and here's your next step, which is the invitation to your offer.
And really as a way to generate leads and then position that and then sell your next program or your high ticket program or whatever that is. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. When it comes to challenges, what it does really, really well is that you can start from scratch with somebody and establish the trust. So challenges are incredible at helping people realize how much they want to learn from you and creating that trust. And every single day, you are leading them towards a win. And when people experience several wins in a row, usually 3 wins in a row, it pushes that dopamine button and we want more. So people basically become addicted to you. And the idea of the challenge, it increases your visibility. You're getting leads, you're building your online community, because there's always online community component. You have the social proof, and people know why they need that offer that's coming up.
I love it. I know that you've become known as the person who can help people implement this model into their business. That's how I've always known of you. And so I wanted to ask a little bit, when people come into your world for the first time, or maybe they're coming to your challenge or joining your program for the first time, what are you hearing from them? What's the struggle? What are they saying? Like, I wish that I could do this, or I'm struggling with that. And then what you're teaching them is just, such good positioning for that challenge.
Yeah, there's so many different things because we can work, this challenge process works for people who are just starting out. So if you look back at my story, I didn't have a list of business owners. I had a handful of my headshot clients, and that's where I started. So it helped me build my list. I didn't have any credibility in the coaching world. So me running my first challenge, that's what basically put me and my business on the map, because then people could see that I'm not just good behind the camera, I'm good at helping and taking you through the process and helping you get the results and clients. And it helped me create my very first digital product. So when we have complete beginners coming in and they're saying, I don't have social media following, I don't have a list, I don't have a product, Challenges is a perfect place for them to start, because it make it all happen in just a matter of days. And they don't have to build something for 6 months or wait for the results in 5 months or even start monetizing it. On the other hand, we have people who come to us and they already have 6-figure business or multi-6-figure business or even 7-figure business. And they're saying, I want something new. I want something creative. I want something experiential. I want something interactive. And they already have the built-in community and they already have credibility. For them, it's a really fast way to warm up their audience for their next offer and monetize their existing people. So it works regardless of what type of business you have and what the stage of the business is. So one of the, as I kind of already shared to answer your question, a lot of people who come to us, we do tend to work with people who are still trying to get to that 6-figure mark. So they have the expertise, they have the experience, there's just not enough traction. And most of them say, I don't have a list, where do I start? So creating that very first challenge, I have so many stories of people who created their challenge and that's how they got their very first client, and all in a matter of days. So the biggest thing is like, how do I break in? What's the first thing I should do? And I always tell people, if my business evaporated overnight, let's hope it doesn't. But the very first thing I would do to restart it, I would run a challenge because it's a very low cost, low tech way to start getting visibility and start getting momentum and start getting people who are ready to say yes to you. And at the same time, it's very low threshold of entry. All people have to give you is their email address to join the challenge and you giving them results, you giving them the training. So again, if I were to start my business completely over, I would start the day one with offering a challenge.
I love that. Now, if I was going to do that, I would add to it, I would have affiliates fill the challenge. And that is amazing. And I know that you do that
Absolutely.
also. And so there's no easier way to have, than to have a campaign like that and have others fill it for you. Yeah, it's a great model, especially if you're at zero or if you're starting over. We meet so many people who, you hear all the time, do joint ventures and, do cross promotions and all of that. But how do you do that when you have no list? And a challenge is a great way to help you to build a list. I want to ask you about the distinction between a challenge. Now, a lot of people use the word challenge. And I've attended many, and they're not really challenges. They're more like 5-day trainings with an offer at the end.
Or 5 days of webinars.
5 days of webinars with a pitch and the offer, maybe on day 3 or 4, and then, the upsells. And what I heard you say was something completely different than, even some of the more recent ones I've attended from others, not from you. Make that so our audience is clear. But I heard you say that there should be a common goal, and then bite-sized tasks that lead to that goal so that by the end you've accomplished something. Well, that's not 5 days of webinars, right?
No. Yes, I'm so glad you asked that. Yeah, so we've been using our model, and our model is based on, let me kind of back up a little bit. So when I first started doing my challenges, I was way better at teaching than selling. And I think a lot of people we work with, they're like, I just want to share. I want to create an impact. I want to tell people my process. I want to create this transformation, but I hate selling. So if you're listening to this and it's you, put something in the comments if that's resonating with you. Basically, I created a model that was easy for me to deliver. Our model, like we'll just talk about the 5-day challenges, but in our model, we don't sell until the challenge is over. There's no offers in between. You're basically showing up. You're being yourself. You're not holding anything back. You choose that scope of the challenge. That's not like how to create a 7-figure business in 5 days, but like how to add 10 people to your list, how to get your first 5 JV partners, how do you create your very first blog. So something that you can definitely accomplish in 5 days. And for all these 5 days, you're telling people exactly what they need to know. So you already condensed the information to bite-sized. We teach people micro-learning concept when we teach them about challenges. It's it's the micro wins. It's the micro step by step, very, very bite-sized type of training. So people don't have to spend a whole bunch of time doing it. And during that whole entire 5 days, you just give value. And what happens when you give value and don't sell all the time, people feel like that balance becomes a little bit unbalanced and they go like, ooh, if I got that much for free, just imagine what I can get once I invest in actually working with you, once I invest in being in your program. So you definitely have that working for you. And for people who are just starting out or again, trying to get that traction of getting consistent clients, it's easier for us to show up and be ourselves and be in our expertise than it is to think, oh, now I need to switch ahead and start selling. So usually when you see those 5 days of webinars, it's usually bigger businesses, people who've been doing it for years, people who feel super comfortable just selling all the time. But for us, when we're first starting out and you just like, I just want to show up and do my magic, it's really easy to do a 5-day challenge format. And if you do it right, if you built the content, so the magic is in how you put together the content. So by day 5, people start asking you, and do you also do XYZ? And that XYZ is the offer that's coming up. You know that you've checked all the boxes. That's how we kind of say by day 4 or 5, people should already be asking you for what's coming next. And then whatever you do a webinar, you do Facebook Live, you do your enrollment calls, by then people are already wanting it. You don't even have to convince them. You're just telling them the details and they say, I've been looking for this. This is perfect. So the format that we've created makes it really easy starting point where you don't have to be a good You don't even have to be that good at selling. Just need to show up. You need to deliver the result for people. Once people experience the result and they trust you now, so anything you say after that, you don't have to sell. You just basically say, here's what's on the table. If you would like it, take it. And just a really interesting fact, I've worked with quite a few people who do a lot of numbers. Like every time they do a webinar, they have their stats, who's showing up, who's buying, what's my percentages. As soon as they started adding challenges in front of their webinars or their offers, their conversions increased by 3 times. So multiple people have done that kind of number checking. And basically, whatever you're doing currently, if you put a challenge in front of it, your conversion could triple. So that's what it does for you.
So when you say put a challenge in front of it, so you have the webinar, and so you're saying schedule the challenge to occur before the how far before? What's your recommendation?
Here's the really fun part.
Yeah.
When people come to me and say, well, I'm already doing webinars, I'm already doing workshops, I'm already doing events, I'm already doing XYZ. So should I do a challenge instead? Challenge is never instead. Challenge serves to warm up your audience and be engaged with you and your content and with each other. And you're creating that desire for what's coming next. So if you already have an event and you're just selling it by emailing your list, if you do a challenge a few days before that, look, so for event, maybe give it 2-3 weeks because people usually have to plan if it's a multi-day event. So I would put my challenges about a month before the event. If we're doing a webinar, the challenge is 5 days. We usually give people 2 days. So starts on Monday. On day 5, the information ends. We give people 2 days to catch up. We do the grand prize. There's whole ceremony with that. And then on Monday would be the webinar. So instead of just mailing for the webinar, putting the challenge right in front of it increases conversions for your webinars. All the webinars we do right after the challenge, they are the highest converting webinars.
No, I love so much that you shared that, because so many people in our community are hosting webinars or workshops. And I think this idea of having this in front of it makes it easier to fill the webinar and workshop and also warm people up. So it's the webinar, not the webinar that has to do all the heavy lifting and take the relationship from here to here. They're already warmed up. That's what I'm hearing
And we do it for book launches, launched 5 books over a 5-year period. Every single time we would do our book launch, instead of just saying hey, I have the book, go buy it. We do a challenge on a related topic. And then on Monday, we say, ta-da, we have the book. And we've always reached the #1 best-selling status in the first 30 minutes of that webinar. So it's really easy to supercharge anything you're already doing simply by putting challenge in front. So it doesn't substitute of any other elements of your funnel or your launch. You just putting it there so people get a lot more trust with you and they already started seeing results from you. That's the biggest thing. There's no other lead magnet, because if you're going to be honest, a free 5-day challenge, it is a lead magnet, right? It builds your list. However, it's the only interactive and the only lead magnet that actually produces results, because you can download a PDF and PDF is not interactive. Most of us download the PDF and it's going to sit on the hard drive. We might not even look at it. I would say up to 60 to 80% of people never looked at the PDFs they download, and they definitely not putting it into action right away. Challenge, because we're challenging people, because we're gamifying, because there's prizes every day, because there's rewards for actually getting it done. People do it right when the challenge is running. And once you start getting results with anything, we like that reward. We like that, oh my gosh, I did it and it worked. And it could be a very small micro win, but they can't help themselves but want more. And they associate you with getting those results.
That is so cool. And I agree. I mean, with lead magnet, it might be great for list building, but then they just sit there on their list and they don't buy anything either. And it's really, quantity over quality, right? And so if you want the most number of people to join your list, do a PDF. If you want quality people who are well positioned to buy your offer afterwards, do a challenge. And
can I add something to that? There's another really big distinction. If you do a lead magnet, and there's nothing wrong with it, we have lead magnets. I'll actually invite you to download a PDF from us. But it attracts people who want information. What challenges do, they attract action takers. And if you were to choose, who do you want on your list? People who take action or people who just want information? You always want to have action takers, because when you are making those invitations and you're inviting people to your workshop, to buy your book, to your event, to just work with you, you want people who will raise their hand and say, I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and do the work. And so it's a perfect filter to pull in action takers. So you might get fewer opt-ins for a challenge because you have to do the work, but you're going to get the people who are actually buying.
I love that. Yes. And that's one of the conversations we have all the time is like, how do we make it easier to find action takers? And we could do a whole episode just on that. But I love your model, and I especially love that it can work for really anyone at any stage of business, including the very early stage folks, whether you're starting over or just starting out. This is a model that can work for you. And those are my favorite kind of people to work with. And I love models that serve them, because so many people, especially in the transformation space, amazing gifts, amazing energy, amazing transformational modalities, for, the lack of, bit of a phrase there, but that they have gifts. They can change people's lives. They just need to connect the dots and make it easier for people to find them. And I love your model for that. Let's tell everybody about your free gift, because I always like next steps. And I think your next step is perfect, because this is going to help them to learn more about challenges and you and how your model can help them.
Absolutely. So what we have for you guys is a challenge checklist. So this is, when you grab it, it basically will explain to you all of the essential critical elements that you need to have in order to have a profitable 5-day challenge. Because even though it's free, we definitely want you to monetize your efforts. We want you to monetize you running the challenge. So it has all of the details of what you need to do before the challenge, during the challenge, and after the challenge. Like everything from you need to create this type of community, you need to create this type of page. So it has the actual details. So it comes straight from our program where we teach people how to do 5-day challenges. And that's the checklist first came about because I needed to create a checklist for my team to say, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. And this is probably one of the biggest requests we get from people is like, what do I need to put together and how do I make it all work together? And this PDF, this checklist will also include some more additional information, what you need to have in order to have a very successful challenge. So I would love for you to grab it. We're probably going to have a link somewhere below the video.
We are indeed. In fact, if you'd like to grab that gift right now, just look beneath this video. The link is right there. And if you're listening to this on an audio podcast, just open up your phone and it's in the show notes there as well. Now, two things though, I'm going to do something a little different. So one thing is go get the checklist because that's going to help your understanding of what you need to do. Another reason to go grab it though, is you're going to end up on Alina's email list, and she has events coming up that can help you learn and discover the model for yourself, but also learn how you can start to implement this. And so it's not just a PDF that's going to sit on your hard drive, but it leads you to being an action taker as well. Watch your email if you're on my list as well, because I'll be notifying you of her upcoming events as well. So there's two really powerful reasons why to go get that gift, if not to help you to make a bigger impact with the business that you do. So Alina, thank you so much. I really appreciate everything that you've shared and finally being able to spend some time with you. And I appreciate learning the origin story of how you became known as the go-to person for challenges. I love this. So
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I just want to, before we sign off, I just want to ask you, the audience that we serve here, and what is if you had a final piece of advice or words of wisdom, you want to leave them here as we sign off from this episode?
So my advice for you guys is do it. If there's anything that resonated with you in this episode, if you got excited about it, don't just think about it, do it. And again, we talked about action takers, people who become really successful in business. They don't spend months and months thinking about doing something. They actually implement stuff. So whether it's this episode or any other episode, as you listen into this podcast or watching these videos, if anything resonates with you, don't just put it on a like, oh, I'll look at it next month. Start investigating. What do you need to do to start doing it right now? If you download the challenge checklist that I'm giving you, there's going to be basically a whole entire roadmap on how you can start doing your own challenge. And it only takes a couple of days to put it together, really, like once you wrap your brain around the concept of it. And the second thing is, if you download our checklist, we do these challenges about 4 to 6 times a year, depending on the year. So there's always going to be another one coming up. So if you would like to experience it, you're probably going to be getting invitation, and then you can see it as a participant if that's something that resonates with you. But the biggest thing my biggest piece of advice is, don't just think about it, do it. If that sounded interesting, if it sounded doable, just go and do it.
Just go and do it. And
Yes.
those are great words to end this episode by. Alina, thank you. And I agree, out of everyone I've seen actually transform their business, no one has done it by sitting on their hands. There is a step that you have to take towards. And sometimes you don't have to see the entire roadmap in front of you. You just need to take the next step. And something simple like downloading a checklist is a very easy step for you to take. So all the details are there beneath the video and in the podcast show notes. And I want you to remember as we sign off that, the impact that you want to make is possible. And the gifts that you bring to your clients and to the community and even to the world are gifts that we all really need you to bring. And because that's what transformation is all about. And you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days, but there's no challenge that is too big to overcome. And you might just be one collaboration away from a big breakthrough. And perhaps Alina is the person to collaborate with who's that missing piece that's going to help you to break through and start making the bigger impact that you want to make. So in the meantime, take those action steps, do it now, and keep moving forward. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you.